back for part 2 of looking at the music of Richard Rodgers, and today we're going to talk about turnarounds. So this one gets a little more music theory than the last one, and you may be wondering to yourself, what the heck is a turnaround? Well, if you're in a key, you have a phrase that is, you're in the key of C, and you have a phrase that ends on the home chord, like I'm already home, and then you have time to kill before the next phrase starts, but you don't want to just stay on the home key for the whole time. You want to do what's called a turnaround. So the simple turnarounds is like maybe 4 chords that take you right back where you were, but you're not just sort of sitting in one spot. So there's a million of them, That's a turnaround, or there's lots of ways to stay on one chord and not be boring. So Richard Rodgers does these a lot, and some of them are pretty normal, pretty like regular stuff, but some of them are really extraordinary, and I want to point out a few things because we can hear in Rodgers' turnarounds some of the ideas he was trying to work out. So I'm going to start with Rodgers and Hart's first big hit, which is called Manhattan. It's from 1925. And it was a really clever lyric and some fantastic chord changes. He's in F major, and he's already here, and he's got to go back to the beginning of the tune, but he's already at F. So what he does is this: he goes, let's see, we'll turn Manhattan into an Isle of Joy, and then he goes, which is great. It's pretty and cool. But what's he doing? Actually, Nick, can you look over the top here so you can see my hands? He's on F major. And then he jumps up and plays an F chord. And then he goes for another F chord but overshoots and plays an E, which is under it. And then that goes up. And then he's headed toward an F6 chord, but he overshoots that one and plays C sharp minor, which goes up to F6. And then he gets to this chord, which is C9. There's the root, there's the 7. Actually, it's C13 now that I'm looking at it. There's the 13, or 6/9, but now it's 13, and now he's back. So it's great. So that's the first example. Rodgers loves to come in under a note and then go up to it, or come in a little high and then resolve down. He's like Mozart likes to do that too. The next one I want to show you is from 1926, and it's from a song that most people don't know. It's a Rodgers and Hart song called This Funny World. And it has Hart's lyrics, which are tragic, really depressing but beautiful lyrics. And the end of the tune, again, we're coming from the end, and we're going to loop our way back around to the beginning. Let's see, where should I start? It's always sure to roll right along when you're through. Shouldn't mind, it's all a joke, for you will find this funny world is making fun of you. He's on G, that's where he wanted to be, and so he goes, so actually, Nick, we're going to need you to come up here. So he's on G here, and he goes, okay. The piece lists this, the version I have lists this as A7 flat 9. Well, that's kind of true. There's your flat 9. There's the 5th of the chord. There's the 7. That's the 3rd. There's the root, which resolves down to the 7. And then he gets a D7. There's the suspension, which resolves. And then this is E flat 7, which is like headed toward D7, which is the 5 chord, which takes you back there. What a beautiful turnaround, right? And notice the melody is the same, even though he's harmonizing it differently. Really awesome. The next one is from 1929, and it's called "Ship Without a Sail." And this has to be one of the most beautiful and depressing songs ever written, especially understanding that the lyricist felt tragically alone and unlovable because he was not attractive. Lawrence Hart just was just a deeply troubled person. There's lots of places you can read about that online. It's this gorgeous, gorgeous, and very sad lyric. But Rodgers gets himself into a bind here because he tries something really ambitious right at the beginning of the tune, which creates a problem on the other end. So he starts, the tune goes, all alone, all at sea, and he's in E flat major. But he doesn't start with the E flat major chord. He doesn't start with a 1 chord. He starts with a kind of 1-7 chord, which is going to a 4. And then he gives you a 5-7, which is going back to a 1. So you only get a real home chord on the 4th chord of the melody. So actually, Nick, I think this is... So the first chord is this. What a first chord. It's got 4 notes, but oh my goodness, look at them. That's the home note of the chord. But this 7th means that we're pointed here, right? Then he's got a flat 9, which resolves down. And then this is like a 13 in the first chord of the tune. And then it goes to a 4, which kind of feels like 1 until you get here. There's the root of the chord, there's the 7, there's flat 9, there's 13. This resolves down, and then it's finally a 1 chord with like a suspended note. You hear how Rodgers is like playing all these tension notes against each other? Listen to this melody. You want to listen in Rodgers. This is the next video is going to show this. You want to listen for these interior voices that are pulling places. So like, hear that? And then this, and then he does again. Well, when he gets to the end, he has to get from here to here. Okay, so he's already there, kind of, but then he has to get there. So he parks on E flat. He just activates it in the most beautiful way. He goes, that's all really E flat, right? And then, that's a fully diminished chord. And then he's got the same chord that he had up here, but listen to this chord. Which is pulling there. This goes up, this goes down. So the whole phrase, when there's no hand to hold my hand, life is a loveless tale for a ship without a sail. Nobody care for me. Has to be one of the most gorgeous tunes ever, with the most beautiful lyric too. Okay, another tragically sad song. By the way, when he gets to Hammerstein, it cheers up a little bit, so don't worry. Another Torch song called Little Girl Blue, which has been a favorite of Torch singers for a long time. Simple tune. Rodgers does some awesome things with it, so check it out. Sit there and count your fingers. You might know the song. What can you do? Old girl, you're through. Sit there and count your little fingers. What? Unlucky little girl blue. Now here's what I want to call your attention to. He's already at his home chord, and he goes he's on F, and then he goes A flat, and then he goes G and G flat. But we're hanging on to this F, which is the root of the chord, and now it's a 6 chord, like a A flat plus 6. Now it's a G7. Now it's a G flat major 7, because that F means something different with each of these chords. And what a like tragic kind of flat 3, 2, flat 2, which echoes something he did earlier, because he went, sit there and count your little, hear that? Sit there and count your little, and now, fingers on lucky little girl. So this is also an echo. You can hear it sort of sounds the same, right? He took a structural feature of his cool harmony and made it the turnaround, which is fantastic. So cool. Thanks for your patience here. Now we get to some fun. When he starts working with Hammerstein, this is not technically a turnaround, but it is the sort of thing that where you go, what? How is this possible? So you know the Oklahoma, like the tune Oklahoma from 1943's Oklahoma, the title tune. He goes, Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, right? Maybe you didn't notice, but the whole point of that tune is the bass line. The orchestra, or the choir is singing Oklahoma, the long note, but underneath it's a D major scale. Boom, 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 boom. Maybe you didn't notice, but leading up to that, every time when it gets in the orchestra, there's a scale that's twice as fast going the other direction. Oh, it's the other way, and he's setting up the tune by playing the same scale the other direction. So, da 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 dum bum bum bum. Then, as if that wasn't enough, later in the tune, when the tune finally pays off, and everybody, this very exciting, thrilling ending, he goes, Oklahoma, okay, Oklahoma. Look at the left hand is doing a little bit of the scale twice as fast the other direction, going down. That's awesome. I got two more short ones for you, but trust me, they're doozies. They're amazing. They're things that you maybe have heard and you didn't really realize how extraordinary they are. One of these is from South Pacific, 1949. It's from Some Enchanted Evening, one of the most famous Rodgers tunes ever. And it really shows how Rodgers has taken this language of really cool jazz turnarounds and made it, given it this, again, psychological depth, like I was talking about in this last video. So I'm sure you recognize this. And somehow you'll know, I'm picking up a mid-tune here, you'll know even then that somewhere you'll see her again and again. Now he's already in C major, and he's going to go Some Enchanted, so he's already there. He's got two measures to fill. And how does he do it? He goes, somewhere you'll see her again and again. Whew. I don't know why, but that is just melancholy and beautiful and kind of tragic. It's all, and you want to look over the top, it's all about this descending line. This is a totally tonal, regular harmonized tune, but when he gets to that spot, suddenly it goes really out of focus. See her again, and that's like a 2, again, and there's a 5 chord, again. That is C major 7. Then it goes, that's like C7. And this one, that is C augmented or C sharp 5, and then that's C diminished. So it's, a normal person, if it were me, I would do this again, like that. But Rodgers is emphasizing the fact that the thing is descending. And it's almost like he wants it to be more dissonant. Especially right there. The melody note is fighting the flat 3 there. Some enchanted evening. And while I'm here, that's a wrong note. He gives you the 5 of the chord, then wrong note, back to the middle. So even in the tune itself, he's playing around with these kind of wrong notes that are around the right notes. I don't know, that is such a gorgeous turn. finally, last thing, thank you for sticking with me so long, is from Something Wonderful. And I did this, I talked about this when I was talking about Johnny One Note in the last video. This one is from 1951. Something Wonderful. This is also, let's face it, technically not a turnaround, but it's the kind of thing where Rodgers is using those ideas to do something cool. So the tune is in A major, and it goes, he will not always say, I got a wrong note there, what you would have him say, but now and then he'll say something wonderful. Very rangy, but if you listen, you can hear the tune has that wrong note in. That's a tritone against the bass line, will not, which is really satisfying when you get off of it. He will not always say what you would. I can picture it going, he will not, like that, where you have an A chord with this like kind of wrong note that resolves. But Rodgers digs deeper into it in the tune because he makes the entire chord wrong and then resolves it. So he goes, he will, it's the same thing he did at the turnaround to Manhattan. He goes, will, A flat major over A major, which resolves up. And then it goes there. So that's the main idea that Rodgers is exploring in the melody. So what does he do in the introduction, which is kind of a turnaround because you just heard a verse and now you're parking, waiting for the tune to start. Well, he takes that idea and he like digs into this chord, this like I guess G sharp major chord over A sharp, and he makes it the structural feature of the intro. He goes, listen to how dissonant that is, but how beautiful it is. And he doesn't go like, you know, he goes he just leaves it hanging and then resolves the next phrase again, so that when we get to the tune it actually sounds like we're already there. He will not always say. So just as we were talking about last time with this sort of Johnny One Note thing, Rodgers through the course of his career, especially after he starts working with Hammerstein, is taking these kind of basic jazz ideas and then learning how to activate them so that they like are sometimes a gut punch. Like in Some Enchanted Evening, there's that little very melancholy turnaround. In this one, it is a very subtle portrait of this woman who is clearly has a lot going on in her mind and it's all depicted harmonically. So speaking of harmony, our third video is going to be about chromatic harmony in Rodgers. And I'll hopefully try to show you, I already started to show you in Ship Without a Sail, how that interior line is so interesting. We're going to trace that through some of Rodgers' music, and you're going to hear this extraordinary interior chromatic lines that activate the emotional content over which these basically simple melodies are floating. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.